What is weather? Rain and dull clouds, windy blue skies, cold snow, and sticky heat are very different conditions, yet they are all weather. Weather is the mix of events that happen each day in our atmosphere. Weather is different in different parts of the world and changes from minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, and week to week. Thunderstorms are pretty common around our area, but snowstorms and hurricanes are not. We don't get much snow down here in the South, but areas around the world and around the country, especially the North, can get some pretty big snowstorms. Maybe you've heard about hurricanes on the coast. Places like South Carolina, Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana often get hurricanes coming into their area. They can cause lots of damage. People need to board up their houses, pack their car, and evacuate. They can be huge storms. The average hurricane is 340 miles across. Hurricanes form from disturbances in the atmosphere over warm tropical ocean water. They die down when they move over land or out of the tropics into cooler latitudes. There are some extreme types of weather that we experience sometimes in the Chattanooga area. One of these is tornadoes. We had some experience recently with tornadoes in our area. Pretty scary, right? Tornadoes can also be called twisters, and they are columns of air rotating dangerously fast. The air is in motion because of the difference in pressure between the center of the tornado, which has very low pressure, and the outer edge of the tornado, which has high pressure. Often, the tornado will touch the ground for only a few minutes and travel less than a mile. But some tornadoes touch down for longer and go through towns, neighborhoods, or farms. Predicting weather. Meteorologists develop local and regional weather forecasts, including predictions for several days into the future. Forecasts take into account the weather events that are happening all around the region. Knowing where storms are now can help forecasters predict where storms will be tomorrow and the next day.
Hello everybody, Meteorologist Brian Smith. I am the morning meteorologist for News Channel 9 here in Chattanooga, and I appreciate you inviting me to let and talk a little bit about myself, my career, and why I love weather so much, including some of the interesting weather that we do have around here. So, let's get into some of the questions here that you guys have for me. I'd love to answer some of them. Number one, how old was I when I wanted to become a weatherman? I wanted to become a weatherman at a pretty early age. But what kind of school is required? I always tell kids there's pretty much three things. You got to love science, you got to love math, or at least be good at it. And two, if you want to be on television, you got to not be afraid to talk in front of people. And then I went to college at Mississippi State University. Just so happens that is a great school for both meteorology and for broadcasting. And what they're able to do is combine the two of those together, especially if you want to be a TV meteorologist. Now, there are meteorologists that work for the National Weather Service, that work for electric companies like TVA, work for airports, but I wanted to be one that is on television. So I went to school there for 4 years to get my degree, my bachelor's degree in meteorology, but also learned a little bit about being on stage. I took classes in acting and speech and writing and things like that as well. So what is my favorite type of weather? I love snow. I know I'm in the wrong place for snow, but I love snow, and I love storms, just watching the formation of storms. I don't like it when storms bother people or hurt people, but still I love the formations that storms can create. So that's probably the most interesting. How accurate am I? Or meteorologists in general? I think meteorologists in general are still pretty accurate. Yes, we hear the jokes every day. You can be half right and still keep your job. Well, we're a little bit better than that. But it's still hard to tell you it's going to rain at this time at your house, or it's going to snow. I mean, there's things that still are difficult. But we've learned a lot about weather. And a lot of it has to do with just using the internet here. I got this computer here that I use that can tell me all different kinds of information. Here you're looking at where the rain's going to be. But over here you can see all the different sort of parameters, as we call them. I can look at temperatures, where the heat's going to be building over the next several days. You can see all those dark red colors that are heading towards us. So I look at these forecast models every day, and there are 20 of them that I can look at to figure out which one I feel is going to be the most accurate. And sometimes the weather forecasting is pretty easy. Hot, hazy, humid, with a chance of a few afternoon storms. So how far back do records go in Chattanooga? Believe it or not, they go all the way back to the mid-1800s, especially with temperatures as well as precipitation. But we've been keeping records for a long time, 1600s, 1700s. And that's great and valuable information because it teaches us what the weather has been like. Now, what is the most interesting weather and rare weather that we have in our area? Probably the rarest and interesting and what gets people so excited is snow forecasting. Yeah, keep in mind, we're not supposed to have that much snow around here. We average about an inch a year. Some people don't even see that. But I think it's also interesting the types of weather patterns that we can have, where it can be very dry and hot for a couple years, and then the next year we're having flooding. So we have a lot of different weather that's around here. We have a lot of rain here. Sometimes it can rain for days, and then we could dry up very quickly. So it's interesting to me to see the different weather patterns. But rare is probably going to be either tropical systems or, of course, snow. Now, what can kids do? There are a lot of YouTube videos out there about how the weather works. I go to schools and talk with schools. Chances are I may have seen you in a talk all about weather and severe weather safety. So number one, learning about the weather. It's great that more and more schools learn about the weather, but reading about it. There are tons of experiments that are easy that you can do. You can make your own thunderstorm. You can make your own thermometer and wind vane, and you can make your own rain gauge. You can track the weather for a week and write the highs and lows and compare it to me and see how accurate I was. But most importantly, just making sure that we stay safe. And sometimes we have to remind our parents too, not to drive in flooded roadways. When the thunder roars, you go indoors. Don't go looking out the window when there's a bad storm, because something may break that window. Okay? And what is the craziest thing I've ever done or said on air? Here's the thing. I mess up every single day, but I keep going. I don't write anything down. I just talk about what it is I see, what it is I know about the area. And that's the thing. You can't just stop. It's live television. If I were to stop, what's going to happen? So I have to keep going. But I have said things. I have done things, crazy things. I have been walking on television and fell down and fell into a snow pile, into a pothole. I've done a lot of crazy things. And I mean, the list can go on, but you just keep doing it and you have fun doing it. And that's the most important part. I have fun with what I do, and I'm doing what I've always wanted to do. So kids, if you got a dream, go for it. Try to achieve that dream. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Hello, and welcome to the Rain Cloud in the Jar activity. Today we're going to do rain cloud in a jar, and we're going to show you how it rains. So you're going to need a large jar like this, or it can be bigger, shaving cream, food coloring. I chose blue. You're going to need a cup, and you're going to need a pipette or a droplet. So in a small cup like this, you're going to mix food coloring and water. You're going to fill the jar about 3/4 cup full. And you're going to place the jar and the food coloring on the table. And you're going to place a pipette inside the food coloring and water. You're going to take your shaving cream. You're going to shake it up. And then you want to spread on top of the jar like that. Next, you want to take your droplets and you want to drop them on top of the shaving cream. So, as we're dropping the food coloring water on top, The shaving cream represents clouds, and the water represents the air. The color water here represents rain. As the color water saturates the cloud, which is the shaving cream, it gets heavy. So heavy that it can no longer hold the water. It rains down into the jar through the air. It's just like real rain falls through the air. So the more you put the food coloring on there, the heavier the cloud gets. And then it bursts open and then it rains. Let's see. Oh, looked like we had some rain coming down. Y'all see it down there? It's raining. What a perfect day to do this rain cloud in a jar, because it's raining outside. You see it? There's the rain. Well, thank you all for tuning in to Rain Cloud in a Jar activity.